Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week are Eric Devin and Philippe Bargil. With both league and cup action this week, we were treated to another feast of football that we will be digging through this evening. But before any of that, here are your latest headlines. New look Rennes got the Ligue 1 weekend off to a rather dull start after Roderick Philippe's own goal in stoppage time allowed a veteran-laden home side to power past visiting Gazélec 1-0 in Roland Corbis' debut. In Saturday's early match, a makeshift backline featuring Serge Aurier lining up alongside David Luiz was no obstacle for the champions as they thumped Angers 5-1. Blaise Matuidi notching 3 assists and Angel Di Maria a brace. In the multiplex, Ligue 1 continued to shake off its reputation as a defensive league, with Troyes notching their first win of the season, a surprise 3-1 victory away to Lyon. All 3 goals coming in the space of 10 second-half minutes after the hosts had led through a Sofiane Boufal penalty. Caen also notched a comeback victory on the road, beating host Montpellier 2-1 to stop their recent winless run. Guingamp notched a 1-0 victory over Bastia to pull themselves out of the relegation zone in a match which saw the visitors finish with 9 men after Yannick Cahuzac grabbed the referee in the wake of Jimmy Brion earning his side a stoppage time penalty. Nice continued to push Monaco hard for second, recording an impressive home victory over Lorient thanks to Vincent Cosiello, who recorded a goal and an assist after Jan Jouff had opened the scoring. The result sees Lorient slip to 12th, continuing a run of just 1 win in their last 9 in the league. Nantes had raced out to an early lead at home to Bordeaux, but Les Girondins notched 2 goals in the match's last 10 minutes to earn a point in a 2-2 draw. Sunday's early match between Monaco and Toulouse was only going to have one result on paper, but Le TFC should take heart as their 4-0 defeat was marred by a few poor refereeing decisions. European rivals Saint-Etienne, meanwhile, were undone by a late Asiamondi equaliser as hosts Reims managed to stay above the drop zone with a 1-1 draw. The results was the same in the Olympico as Steve Mandanda kept Marseille in the match with several fine saves before Remy Cabella opened the scoring on 64 minutes. Substitute Corentin Tolisso would strike an equaliser for the hosts 10 minutes from time, but both teams would have preferred 3 points as they still sit 3 points outside of the European places. In last week's Coupe de France fixtures, a host of surprising results include Ligue 2 side Bourg-en-Bresse 3-1 win at Rennes. Amateurs Sa Union and Trélissac defeating Niort and Lille respectively. The competition continues with the round of 16 fixtures set for February the 9th and the 10th. In Ligue 2, leaders Nancy and second place Dijon both failed to win, with the 2 of the chasing pack, Le Havre and Clermont, in action at the time of recording. The Coupe de la Ligue continues as well tomorrow with Lille hosting Bordeaux, while Paris Saint-Germain take on Toulouse in Wednesday's semi-final. Be sure to join us on at GFFN Match Zone on Twitter for full coverage of those games. In injury news, Bordeaux's Cedric Carrasso suffered a season-ending knee injury against Nantes. OS France has confirmed. Youngster Jérôme Prieur has impressed when given the chance, but is still relatively untested. Montpellier's Morgan Sanson, meanwhile, has also undergone arthroscopic surgery last week, further hampering his recovery from a serious knee injury sustained last spring, adding an additional 6 to 8 weeks to his return. And that's all for the news this week, but do keep up to date and remember to check out our website at www.getfootballfrancenews.com and follow us on Twitter at GFN_France. Also, please check out our Transfer Window podcast that has run throughout this month. Its final show will be this week, the GFFN Mercato Show. You can find it alongside with this show on iTunes. We start with this week with Sunday's evening's game as Lyon came from behind to draw 1-1 with Marseille. It was another interesting affair, Philip, between the two sides, but how important to the away side was their performance of their goalkeeper and captain Steve Mandanda.
Yeah, he was man of the match by quite a distance. By far the best Marseille player on the pitch. It was one of those games where he just made sure the ball stayed out of the goal, even though it looked empty. There were like 2 or 3 chances where there was a Lyon player. Sometimes it was Lacazette. Sometimes it was Ghezal. It could have been Darder as well. So basically it looked so easy to score against him, but he somehow kept it out. Lots of controversy regarding Lyon's goal was because it came from an imaginary free kick. So the referee, who's made a couple of poor decisions, if you're a Marseille fan, Anthony Gauthier, he basically booked Javi Manquillo for handballing. For handball in a challenge, which was very far away from goal. The TV replay shows that it wasn't a handball, and from that free kick, Marseille didn't mark Tolisso very well, and Tolisso scored. But apart from that, that was none of Mandanda's wrongdoing, and he pulled some blinding stops, like from this chance Lacazette had early on. Lacazette didn't have a particularly good game. I thought it was a mixed performance. Some of the very easy controls, easy things that he was doing so well last season, he just couldn't do it, and he still looks quite short of confidence. But regarding Marseille, I mean, you got to say they probably didn't deserve the 3 points. But there's some kind of ruthlessness about them. Cabella took his goal very well. It was a long range effort from a quality Batshuayi free kick. They scored another goal which was ruled offside but wasn't. And they're playing quite defensively. But they can, when you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and it's a real bad trend really for Lyon, because it was Ruffier last week, and now Mandanda, and I'm sure that with goalkeepers are less able to do those exploits, they would win the game. So it's kind of a deserved result, but had it not been for Mandanda, it would have been 4-1. So he was definitely man of the match by a comfortable margin.
Eric, I bet Lyon are sick of seeing talented goalkeepers at the moment. What was your take on the game?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Mandanda was man of the match. His save against Valbuena in particular was really tremendous, but I really have to question the way that Bruno Genesio set up the team on the evening. He went back to his preferred 4-3-3, but played Valbuena on the left and Ghezal on the right, other side of Lacazette. Both of them really operated in freer roles than that would indicate. Both of them were constantly drifting across the pitch and did well to sort of draw Marseille's defense about. But Marseille did an excellent job countering this and tracking back. Bouna Sarr and Georges-Kevin Nkoudou also had really tremendous matches. Nkoudou did very well going forward, but both of them were excellent in tracking back and aiding the fullbacks, aiding the defense in really harrying Ghezal and Valbuena. Both of them had their moments, but were largely shut down on the night by the hard work of the two wide players of Marseille. But more than that, I have to question Genesio's use of Darder and Grenier on the night. Both of them we've seen enough of, both in their time at Malaga and Grenier's prior time at Lyon, that they can be really tremendous players. But on the evening, I really feel like they were out of sync with their teammates. Too often, especially after Batshuayi had hit the post on about half an hour, that really seemed to rattle Lyon's nerves. From that point on, it seemed like those two in particular were just continuing to try to play long balls over the top. And we've seen this again. This was part of the issue with Claudio Bovu. The way that Lyon play when they're at their best is really to play the ball on the ground, a lot of quick one-touch passing. And the way that Grenier and Darder were seeking to play, I think was really doing a lot to stymie any attacking synthesis that Lyon were attempting to establish. So they were both removed about halfway through the second half after Cabella's goal. But I think the 4-3-3 works, but it needs to be Tolisso and Ferry. Once those two came on, I think that Lyon took a little bit more charge of the game, looked a little bit more direct. Lyon had plenty of the ball, but weren't really doing much with it. They'd pass it around and then have one of these aimless long passes, and they really failed to establish any rhythm as a result. So yeah, persist with the 4-3-3 for Genesio, but reconsider the personnel. And like I said, Marseille, a great team effort, defending from the front. Even Batshuayi was dropping back. Isla and Romao were getting about the park as well. Just a really good effort. I know that defensive work rate was a bit of an issue with some of the wide players that Marseille used at times last year. The likes of a Romain Alessandrini, the likes of a Barada, the likes of a Cabella, the likes of a Tovan. But bringing in these two players, in Sarr and Nkudu, I think really gives the team a much more solid identity defensively. And their defense was such a mess last year due to that raft of injuries that they had. But if they can defend that well in wide areas this season, I really do think that they can continue to be a little bit more opportunistic and rise back up the table.
Completely agree with. Sorry, Nathan. I completely agree with what you're saying about Tolisso and Ferry in that they're a bit more stable midfielders. I mean, they do go forward, and Tolisso did go forward and did score. But wouldn't you have? I would have personally, seeing what Lacazette was doing. I would have put Cornet on at half time because he looked off. I mean, he did some very good stuff, but he did some pretty awful stuff as well. I don't know how much he did. He got in today's L'Équipe, but give Cornet a chance now that Beauvue is gone. He needs complete. He needs to know that he's Lacazette's understudy, and when things aren't going well, he can play much more. I'm not saying sub Lacazette by Cornet at half time, but more game time than just 5 minutes.
Well, Kalulu came on initially, and they played sort of what amounted to a 4-4-2 with a double six, with Tolisso dropping back alongside Gonalon when Kalulu and Tolisso came on. I personally favor Kalulu over Cornet. I think that despite his small size, he's more direct. He's better at holding off defenders. He fits into the mold of what Lyon are trying to do, playing the ball on the ground a little bit better than does Cornet. Cornet is more of a wide player for me, whereas I think Kalulu can function in more of a central role.
And the refereeing?
The refereeing was poor for both teams, but again, we've seen this time and again. The players were on edge because of the atmosphere. I mean, we had a stoppage of play about 2 minutes or so early on in the second half, and there was Lyon fans throwing a bunch of trash at Steve Mandanda around his goal, a bunch of pieces of crumpled up paper. There's just no place in this. Jeremy Morel had a really rash challenge for a booking shortly thereafter. Batshuayi seemed to retaliate. It was just the atmosphere was very toxic. But sorry,
passion packed.
Yeah,
lots of passion and hatred, shall we say, between the two sides.
Well, I mean, going back to the last match between these two, not this season, but to the match which was played in April of last year, that was a particularly fiery encounter as well, which it had, I believe it was Morel was actually sent off in that match last season. So there's no love lost between any of these teams, and it was always going to be a difficult match to referee, but we saw how well, for example, Clement Turpin had done in the week prior. It was
Morel.
It was Morel.
It was Morel, 85th minute, yeah.
Right. So I don't understand why Ligue 1's referee assigners are giving this to Gauthier. He's not a referee of whom I've seen a lot. he doesn't rank with me among their best. The likes of a Lanois or a Clement Turpin. Referees who I feel like generally control a match very well. One that has the potential to be so heated.
One thing I do really need to say about the goal is that yes, it's not a good decision, but come on, it could have been anyone on the pitch, and they did leave Tolisso unmarked. So Twitter went completely berserk when Lyon equalised, saying never should have been a free kick. Referee's not good enough, and he probably isn't. But if you can't defend a free kick, you're probably gonna end up conceding a goal, especially against a side like Lyon.
Very true.
I mean, just if you defend it right, you don't concede a goal, and those free kicks are given. You get something like 20 to 30 of this kind every game because the referee is not placed well enough. He's too far from the action. He thinks that tackle is a bit too harsh, and this was a handball. Okay, it wasn't, but still, you still need to defend your free kicks correctly. And it really is quite infuriating because Marseille defended quite well, I thought. Good team effort, and they just let Mandanda down with just that one free kick. So it's a shame.
It really was, and to quote many managers, what they would have been saying at that moment for the free kick, even if it was very, very questionable, to say the least, that there is 89 minutes and other minutes in a football game to right or wrong like that. But I do want to mention Marseille's defending, which, Eric, it was much improved, and the only real sort of change they've made is starting Rolando a little bit more instead of the youngster Karim Rekic. That's really seemed to have made a difference in the last week or so.
I agree with that in central defense, but I think the real credit has to go to Nkudu and Sarr. These two haven't started much together, but the way that they get up and down the flanks, I think, is really what drives this team defensively. Forcing the players into the middle of the park, where you've got Isla and Romao at present. Isla normally would normally be Lassana Diarra in there, but the energy with which they track back forces players into the center of the park, where they're met with quite a crowd. I mean, even Remy Cabello was doing well and dropping back on the night, and I think that it's the energy of those two wide players, I think, that's really making the difference for me. Yes, Jorge Rolando is a player who's got a fair amount of experience throughout his career, but I don't think that he is an improvement over Rekic, but I think more credit needs to go to Nkudu and Sarr in this respect.
And I think that's an excellent point to make, that channeling them through the middle rather than players running either side of Nkudu and Rolando and them having to track back and go backwards is much more. I will tell you, as a used to play centre back myself, if you could help keep people in front of me, please do that, because I don't want to run backwards. Overall for Marseille, Philip, it was a good result, but it leaves both teams, as mentioned in the news, about 3 points off the European places. Should they both be still aiming for that, or do you think something like that performance from Marseille shows that maybe that might be beyond them this season?
Yeah, I'm starting to doubt it. To be honest with Lyon, again, it's the goalkeepers they've been facing. They're not going to face goalkeepers that good every week. Looking at their fixture list, so they had Marseille, they had Saint-Etienne. Now they have Bastia, Bordeaux, Angers, Caen. Some fairly good goalkeepers in there. It'll be interesting to see how Bordeaux do without Carasso. Bastia don't look to be in a particularly great form. I mean, just away from home, not doing anything great. So I do believe that they will pick up. I still believe they will pick up, but. Monaco did beat Toulouse 4-0, and it really looks like they're starting to get into some great kind of form, and that they want to make second place their own, so they don't have to bother with the Champions League qualifiers. And I'm afraid that if third is the best Lyon can manage, it all depends on the draw, of course, but it'll be still quite tough with squad to say, okay, we'll be in the Champions League and we'll try and qualify via the playoffs. So they should be aiming that high. They've got the quality, especially up front, to aim at, shall we say, second or third. I think third is more realistic. Marseille, I'm not too sure. I mean, it's still quite a bit of a miracle that they didn't lose last night. Watched a game in the Coupe de France against Montpellier. Wasn't particularly good. Two quite lucky goals. And I just don't think European football would benefit the club at this moment in time. It'd be at Champions League. Champions League would be a disaster, if I'm being completely honest, and Europa League would mean another season in mid-table. So I would sacrifice Europe for next season in order to make a good campaign for Champions League next season. That is. So Lyon, yes. Can either of those aim higher? Lyon, yes. Marseille probably shouldn't.
Just before we move on, Eric, talking about the attacking potential of both sides, it was billed by some before the game as a bit of Lacazette versus Michy Batshuayi. Do you think both that might be the last time we see those two players facing off against each other, Lyon, Marseille? Do you think they're both possibly moving on this summer?
I could see both of them moving this summer, but it's hard to say with certainty. Lacazette, particularly with what's been said about him and potentially moving to Newcastle as soon as this window, looks more and more likely a goner. But I do think that the hope from Lyon's perspective is that he'll be picked in the France squad for Euro 2016, have a decent tournament, and they'll be able to increase his price tag. Similarly with Marseille, Michy Batshuayi in Belgium, I think that I'd be surprised to see a lot of big movement in terms of players that are likely candidates to play in the Euros ahead of the summer, because we all know how strong performances in international competition can rapidly boost a player's price tag.
And it'll be interesting to watch those potentially in the summer. We'll move on to midweek action now, and the Coupe de France, and there were some really interesting results that we'll come to soon, but I want to talk about a couple of other games first, and start with you, Philip, and Paris Saint-Germain's win against Toulouse 2-1. It's another tight affair against Toulouse, the third time in recent moments, but was it another easy win, or was it another tricky tie against a uncomfortable side?
No, you can tell that each side prioritized their own competition. PSG partners still make the league a priority. We saw that with this emphatic 5-1 win against Angers, and against Toulouse, it wasn't the first team playing. Cavani had an absolutely awful game. So Di Maria, just like against Lyon in the Coupe de Ligue, Di Maria had to be brought on to install some kind of creativity in the ranks. The midfield three, I didn't like the midfield three. Nguendo, Rabiot, and forgetting the third one, I think it was Stambouli. It didn't click with the front three, at all. Toulouse scored a wonderful goal, 11th minute. It was actually quite great to see. They went at half-time 1-0 up. I mean, this is quite an achievement. PSG equalised, David Luiz bullet header, and then not that many chances. I didn't feel, and then Zlatan scored the winner on penalty. So PSG won the game. Shall we say with not really putting everything in it, not really putting 100%. It was completely different on this weekend because PSG destroyed Angers and Toulouse got destroyed by Monaco. You can just tell that maybe Henri Baget didn't want Toulouse to play as well as they did at the Parc des Princes if it meant a 4-0 hiding in Monaco, but they did, and even though there was a squad turnover, it didn't work out that well for Toulouse. It wasn't a particularly good week for Henri Baget.
And Eric, you watched Bordeaux Angers for us, didn't you? So some might see on paper with their league tables as a little bit of an upset, but Bordeaux played a pretty good game, I heard.
Yeah, this was a real surprise. Especially if you look at the starting 11s ahead of the match, this was pretty much a full strength Angers side playing at home. Maybe you would swap Sissoko for Yatar or something like that, but essentially a full strength Angers side. But Bordeaux countered with an incredibly young side: Baba Traoré, Valentin Vada, Jean Ambrose, Abdou Traoré, Jussi. A lot of players who rarely, if ever, start in the league or in Europe, and some of them, the likes of a Traoré and a Vada, are incredibly young players. Also, both of them just 19 years of age, but they really played a high-energy game, and there was a little bit of luck in terms of Bordeaux's goals, but I think on the whole, how they would be heartened from this performance is really impressive, and this is. Bordeaux had this, again, this wealth of young talent. And Jérôme Prieur, the goalkeeper, had an excellent match as well. It was just, a really great display from Bordeaux. And surprising to see such a young and little used team turn in a result. What was, probably an upset based on the starting 11s that each manager decided to put out on the evening. But it's the kind of result that I think the fans of Bordeaux can really look to as a promising thing too. Not only are these youngsters turning into good performance, but the chance to continue to progress in the cup is something that's going to give them a little bit of excitement. Bordeaux have done really well, I think, in their non-league activities this year. Going out in a tough group in the Europa League and advancing to the semifinals in the Coupe de la Ligue, and now they've got certainly a winnable draw against Nantes in the round of 16. And yeah, it's just a good set of circumstances for a club that's had its ups and downs over the season's first 6 months.
Let's get to the upsets though, and the biggest one by quite some way was Troyes-Lissac's penalty victory over Lille. Philip, that's the magic of the cup, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't have that much of it in the first round. We call it 32e de finale. It's the French equivalent of the FA Cup third round. So Troyes-Lissac, a club from CFA being Division 4, knocking out Lille, which is a wonderful achievement. Lots of things like that could have happened. I mean, you had Ajaccio who pushed Saint-Etienne to extra time. You had Lorient who needed extra time to win at Boulogne-sur-Mer, which are in National Division 3. Same for Nantes. Nantes needed extra time to beat Mantes-la-Jolie, aside from Paris. Monaco as well needed extra time to beat Evian Tournai-Gaillard, who are struggling in Ligue 2. It just goes to show you there isn't that much. Doesn't seem to be that much difference between Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 sides. Just very very organized and very very hard to score goals against. So going back there, Lille could not beat Troyes-Lissac after 120 minutes, and Troyes-Lissac did win the game on penalty. It's a tremendous achievement, and kind of a bad week for Antonetti because he loses to Coupe de France minnows, and then goes on to lose against Troyes, which if you're regular listener will know that they're not having a good season. It's quite good because I really thought that it would be a case of lower league sides pushing sides to extra time and probably concede a goal in extra time, like happened for Evian, for Mantes and Boulogne. But something good did happen from that, as Le Petit Poussé, so the giant killers, knocked out Lille, who despite the managerial change, keep having a quite disappointing season.
And there were some other league casualties as well, weren't there, Eric? Bastia lost 2-1 to Sochaux, and Bourg-en-Bresse knocked out Rennes, which really signalled the end for Montagnier as well, which we'll get onto later. But it's really great seeing Ligue 2 sides as well, putting some pressure on some Ligue 1 sides who aren't doing too poorly in the league.
Yeah, I mean this is why the French Cup is so exciting. Is that we have these teams coming from all levels, and it's this year in particular. We look at the round of 16. We have some usual suspects: a Saint-Etienne, a Lyon, a Monaco, a Marseille, but a Bordeaux. But I mean, if we look at the likes of a Granville, Bourg-en-Bresse, Sarre Union, Saint-Malo, Trélissac, even Sochaux to some extent, you've got a good 5 or 6 teams that are really outsiders at this point in the competition. I mean, this is the round of 16. This is the business end. These are teams that if they play their cards right, could be playing in the Stade de France, depending on what the how the draw shakes out. Just simply by virtue of the fact that there are so many of these more lightly regarded teams. I know Gazélec are a Ligue 1 team, but they're going away to Saint-Malo. That there's potential for an upset there. And with Marseille's season so far, who knows how a trip to Trélissac can go.
And that will certainly be an interesting one. And looking at the likes of Granville facing Bourg-en-Bresse for a place in the quarterfinals, that's exactly what the Cup is all about. We'll move on, as we mentioned very briefly there, that the loss by Rennes in the Cup resulted in the sacking of manager Philippe Montanier. And surprise, surprise, the man who they brought in last week behind the scenes has come to the forefront now. Roland Courbis took charge of his first game at the weekend, a 1-0 win against Gazélec Ajaccio. Is this a good appointment, Philip?
I think it is. I mean, I think it's something had to change with Montanier. I have no idea what's been going on for the past few seasons. Yes, he did lose his best player, Paul Georges Ntep, for a very long period of time. He's doing a couple of substitute appearances right now. Well, he did beat Gazélec. Courbis did beat Gazélec 1-0 on Friday evening. It's just the way it's been done. Basically, the Rennes chairman, from what I read, brought in Courbis to help out Montanier, and a couple of days later he was out. And a lot of pundits, a lot of people who have actually worked with Courbis, who have done punditry with him, are not that surprised. So he's got some kind of backstabbing history with him. There's been a bit of a row last night on Canal+. Michael Landreau, so ex-Nantes and PSG goalkeeper, very good goalkeeper, who's often been criticized by Courbis for not being very good, and he had his moments. He had his Mandanda moments. He had his moments of brilliance. He had his moments where he made a few blunders. But he was a very, very decent goalkeeper, and he just confirmed that it's not really that surprising to see Courbis coming in a club saying, okay, I'm just here to help out, and then okay, I'm taking the whole thing, otherwise I'm gone. One thing I don't really get is why Courbis left Montpellier for Rennes. This is what I'm really not at a loss, basically, because they're the same size. It's probably a bit more passion in the south than there is in Brittany, but apart from that, I'm not quite sure what he did. I don't think the foundations are that different. It's just that Montpellier had a very rough start to the season, and with him, Montpellier were going up not too badly. I don't really say it. He said that he wanted to leave Montpellier because he wasn't under too much stress. I just don't. Yeah, I don't feel that Montpellier are a particularly stressful club, and going to Rennes, I mean, to me, there's two clubs that are quite comparable, really. Maybe Montpellier in more relegation fights than Rennes, but that's about it.
And going from one stressful job to another, Eric, what do you make of the appointment of Courbis? Maybe they needed that kind of change from Montanier?
Yeah, and Philip, just to sort of jump on your point there, I think that it's pretty apparent the financial differences between these clubs. We look at how many players that Rennes have brought in the now 2.5 seasons since Montanier's arrival from Real Sociedad. Let's be honest. First of all, to bring in a manager in the form of Montanier from qualifying the club into the Champions League which he had done with Real Sociedad in the 2012-13 season, to have him out of his contract and to give him sort of a blank checkbook to sign this raft of players that he has, speaks to, I think, what Rennes' real ambitions are. They're a club that's shown themselves not unwilling to spend money, at least, if not to the level of a Lyon, a Monaco, or a PSG, certainly in the upper half of clubs willing to spend money within the league. So Courbis's previous situation at Montpellier, they were forced to sell the likes of an Al-Khawattari and other players in the recent past due to financial situations. Think back to the start of Montpellier's season. It took them 4 matches to even score a goal. Until Casimir Ninga started to come good, it looked like they were in a serious bind. And we combine that with the injuries to Marveau, to Paul Lan, to Maurice Sanson. It's easy to see why Montpellier was a situation which was going to be taxing on him. Now, contrast the situation at Rennes. Despite being given sort of a blank check to sign players, to continue to bring players in, this season saw the arrivals of the likes of Quintero on loan, Jeremy Boga on loan, Ludovic Ball at left back, arriving from Lens. He's being given ample opportunity to fashion the squad as he wants, but yet, over the beginning of this season, what we've seen is a continual switching among players. And yes, there have been injuries. The likes of a Mexer and an Entep have both missed significant amounts of time. Benoit Castile as well. But the fact is, he's played a 3-4-3. He's played a 4-1-4-1. He's played a 4-2-3-1. He's played a 4-3-3. There's no consistency. There had been no consistency on the part of Montagnier, either in personnel, in formation, or even in the general way that he wanted to attack. Does he want to be an attacking team? Does he want to be a possession team? Does he want to be a counter-attacking team? The fact is, to spend the amount of money, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but I've got to figure it's something on the order of $30 or $40 million euros in fees paid under the auspices of Montagnier. And to be still nowhere close to European football, despite having some very talented players in the personages of the likes of an Abdoulaye Doucouré and a Paul-Georges Entep on their books, means it was simply time to go. Yes, we can point to the results to Bourg-en-Bresse as being the final nail in the coffin, but the fact is this project of Rennes under Montagnier hadn't achieved any meaningful level of success over the course of 2.5 years. And not only did it speak to a paucity of success, it spoke to a paucity of ideas. There wasn't any sort of consistent, clear vision on the part of Montagnier or the people in charge of transfer policy at the club that gave any opportunity that anything was going to change. They looked decent playing a 3-4-3 with Ball and Moreira as wingbacks earlier in the season, but then, okay, 1 or 2 bad results happens, Montagnier scraps that and tries something else. And that lack of vision and forthrightness is what's undone this club, and it is frustrating, especially the way that Liga is this season. There was a quote from Courbis that he believes this team has the talent to finish second. They absolutely do under the right circumstances and managed the right way. And to see him playing, see Courbis, that is, play an orthodox 4-1-4-1 with the likes of Mbege and Danze as the fullbacks, Entep and Sio being played in positions you'd expect them to be played in. It wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. In order for Rennes to have success, this team's going to need to be stripped back down to basics, down to nuts and bolts. And Courbis is the manager to do this. There's been too much money invested in this club. There's too much talent on that team's books for them not to be getting the results that they should be week in and week out. And that's down to Montagnier. That's why he left. That's why Courbis has come in.
I didn't realize there was that much I really didn't realize there was such a different financial landscape between both
I want to say $4 million to loan Quintero.
Yeah, it was a reasonable amount if I remember rightly.
But yeah, to me it still feels like, I don't know. There are just some managers who are made for certain clubs, and I just don't. I saw more Courbis have a fit at Montpellier than at Rennes, but then again, if he's got much more financial flexibility, yeah, why not? Why not? But I just don't feel. It just doesn't feel. I mean, I know Montpellier 18's Rennes of course. There's a huge difference on the table, probably not in terms of points, but I just don't feel the shall we say the financial power. I don't feel that much. There's that much of a difference between the two of them. Maybe in terms of aspirations, sure, but other than that, I'm not. To me, it's not a big. It's not a big gap. That's what I was. Yeah.
It's not too much of a significant change, is what you were trying to pull across, wasn't it?
I don't think so. Yeah. But it is possible that Nicolas is building a stressful environment around his club, and I honestly believe that Courbis leaving is really not good news for Montpellier, as results do show these days.
Well, I did manage to watch Courbis's first game in charge for Rennes against Gazalec at the weekend, and I will admit that the first 15 minutes they were very, very good. They were on the front foot, they were positive, they were looking to try that attacking style that they really can go with. I mean, he started with Giovanni C up front with and Tep on the left, Ousmane Dembele, who's a little bit of a revelation in Rennes at the moment, on the right, and Quintero through the middle, who was a little bit disappointing, really. He seemed a little bit lightweight for me on too many occasions, but they struggled to find that early goal, and then from that, they were stuck in Rennes mode of they can't really do anything. And then the midfield battle was sort of so much of a task. Every time the ball was played to Jacques Zou up front for Ajaccio, it seemed to stick at his feet, and then they look a goal in the last moment with a ball over the top from the midfield, and Kamil Grosicki eventually convinces the Gazalec defender next to him to poke it into the back of the net. But I have to agree with you, Eric, that he never seemed to decide what he wanted, and I think that was most obvious when Tep was injured and he couldn't decide who he wanted to play on the wings. I mean, Paulo Henrique played there, Grosicki played there. He landed with Dembele, and he landed on his feet with Dembele because he's terrific, but he was never going to be a first option with Tep in there, and he got lucky that he was then the starter, so then he would play Grosicki opposite him, play Paulo Henrique. He tried Boga for maybe a game and didn't really give him a chance. He again came on at the weekend and really impressed when he came on for, I think he came on for Quintero. It might have been Grosicki that came on for Quintero, but he did come on at one stage and really impressed, and that's what really surprises me, that they just seemed more positive under Courbis, and maybe that makes me think, was Montanier maybe a little bit lucky in the end at Sociedad? Was he lucky that the fact that someone at the talent level of Antoine Griezmann was handed to him on a plate, and the likes of Carlos Vela, when he was really in his prime at that moment at Sociedad, getting them to the Champions League, and then simply because of that one feat, he got the job at Rennes. But sticking with that idea, Philippe, of Montanier, can you see him getting another job in France at some point?
Well, the reputation is a bit tarnished. The thing is, everybody was so glad to see him go from La Liga to Liga and going back, which is not always necessarily a good news when you're going back from a foreign country. You come back in France. I simply don't think it'll be anyone major. Guingamp are having problems. Maybe Gourvenec is going to have problems with the board. I can see him going to a club like that, but he did fail at Rennes. I think we can all agree that he didn't have a good time, and he was given time, but he didn't succeed. So yeah, I think it'll be that kind of clubs that he will manage, just to kind of like most Liga clubs that will struggle and try not to go down, because that is if he wants to keep being a manager, because he can go in punditry and do punditry for Canal Plus B, and he can decide to do that, but I don't think it'll be for a major club, given the failure it has been for him.
I think you make an excellent point there, that he was given plenty of time, which probably makes that feel more like a significant failure. We will move on to our final section tonight as we head into the final game of January. I think it's time to look at who might face the drop to Ligue 2 before we get a probably impassioned speech by Philip about the number of clubs that will definitely be going down. Eric, I wanted to get your ideas first. From at this moment in time, who do you think the 3 being relegated this season will be?
I think the current bottom 3. I think anybody from Lorient down are in danger. I think not already on 29 points. I think are probably safe at this point, given how solid they are defensively. Lorient, I worry for them potentially being dragged in due to their recent form. But yeah, I think that Montpellier without Courbis are in real trouble. I mean, if you look at their last 4 league games, they lost on the weekend to Caen 2-1. 3 previous matches, they lost 1-0, 1-0, and 1-0 in the league. And this is going back to the same issues that dogged Montpellier to start the year. They can't put the ball in the back of the net. And if that's they seem to have had a little bit of a good run of form through Casimir Ninga in November and December. That seems to have gone by the wayside, and now, they're turning in some solid defensive performances. They don't seem to have the attacking potency that they need to have any significant level of force. And I think that Troyes' issues are obvious, and I don't see them. Despite being competitive in most of their matches, I really don't see them overcoming what's now a 12-point deficit with only 16 matches to play. Toulouse, I think, at the weekend I really had to feel for them. They really had some bad decisions go against them. I think this is a team that's still playing and is still trying, but I just honestly don't see the talent there for them to overcome things. I think Reims, have battled some injury issues, but once they have that sorted out and we have the likes of a Kie and a Sibacheu back, I think we'll move away. I think Guingamp, similarly, I think they had struggled a little bit in the absence of Nico Benezet, but now that he's back, they've got some good attacking options there, the likes of a Sloan Privage. I mean, Brion's been pretty impressive this season. Bastia always seem to manage to stay afloat as well. So yeah, I'd say the current bottom 3 for me are the favorites to go down.
Philip, who do you think will go down?
It depends. It would be nice if you'd ask me next week. Because it depends if Ben Yedder stays or not. If Ben Yedder leaves, Toulouse are down. And if Ben Yedder stays, Toulouse will narrowly stay up.
Well, for the sake of today, it's pretty much confirmed that Ben Yedder's probably not going to go. Marseille and Lyon probably can't afford him. It's unlikely that an English club is going to come for him. So let's say, for saying's sake, that Ben Yedder is probably staying.
Okay. So Troyes won their first game of the season, first win since May 2015. So congratulations to them. They finally achieved more than 10 points after 20 odd games. But no, seriously, great. It's great to see them win after such a long winless streak. So 21 games, which is quite big. Lille losing. So I completely agree with that. The bottom 8. It will be between the bottom 8. I can't see Lille going down, especially with Antonetti. Could have happened with. What's his name again? The manager who began the season, Hervé Renard. Hervé Renard with Hervé Renard. Even though I would have doubted that. I'm quite concerned for the Corsicans actually. Bastia not having I don't know. There's something about them. With 3 winnings, they're the last team to still winless away from home. They do, but they do win at home. But I'm just not sure. There's some certain air of them not managing to do that until May, and it's the same for Gazélec Ajaccio. Even though, wow, I mean, I can't believe it. That start. 11 games unbeaten, but I still feel that maybe it's some kind of running out of steam kind of thing, but can't really see them. So to answer question 3, Reims, which means they'll probably stay up, and I'm gonna have to say Gazélec.
I will get your reasons for Reims at the moment, but I'm going to go for Troyes. I'm also going to go for Toulouse, which is disappointing because I feel like Martin Braithwaite is finally playing at the level he seems to be able to play at, which is good, and they're going down. So lucky him. And I have a sneaky feeling for Bastia as well. I think Montpellier. It does worry me that Sanson especially is injured for another 6 to 8 weeks because he can be a really really good player on his day, and that would really lift them. And that if he does come back with enough games left and fit enough and gets going, and Casimir Ninga can score again, they nick a couple of 1-0 because they don't concede many, although they're not scoring many, which is a positive when you're down there because you can nick draws and nick a couple of 1-0 wins. So I think they might just do again. I think you make an excellent point, Eric, about Reims, that Grosjean Kier coming back will be good, but the double from Nicolas Depreville last week was a positive sign that he can score goals as well as create them. So if they can start scoring, I think they'll be safe. Guingamp, again, have some... Nicolas Benazet is a really good player to come back, and the likes of the experience of players like Jimmy Briand and Mevlut Erdning was really positive for them, I think. But Bastia just... They're that team that might just slowly creep away from themselves. I don't think they've got enough quality up front. They've scored not enough goals this season. They're managing somehow to keep them out, but I can't imagine that happening for long. And that away record really worries me because I can remember in the Premier League there was a season when I think the season Fulham went down. They had failed to win away from home all season, and that eventually became their undoing. So that really, really worries me. But looking at some of the clubs around there, then, Eric, a little bit closer, we've not really mentioned Guingamp too much. Why do you think they might have enough to stay up?
I just think that they have Loso, who I think, on his day is a really solid goalkeeper. I think they've got experienced and capable defensive midfield. I think they've got exciting wide players in the likes of a Marcus Coco and and Nico Benazet, as I mentioned. I think that particularly with the addition of Erding, who's going to be motivated to make the squad for year 2016, Priva and Briand, they've got a strike force that are capable enough to score goals. I think that they, despite their defensive issues at times, they're still a fairly capable team going forward, and I think that we really can't count them out for that. I'm remembering in particular a 3-3 draw with Monaco at the Rougarou where they played out of their skin, and there's enough attacking talent here, particularly with Benazet coming back to let that make the difference for Guingamp.
And I think I would add to that, Eric, that Jocelyn Gourvenec's a really solid manager in Liga, and I think he's got enough about him with a squad like that to keep them up. And Marcus Coco, a player to watch if you see Guingamp, terrific. I really enjoy watching him this season. Eric, I think we've been waiting for this, and since you've already tipped them to go down, why will Reims fighting the drop this season?
Reims, I like I said, I think they'll stay up. I think that the results against Saint-Etienne showed it time and again. And this is a team that plays to the whistle. They had that surprising victory over Bordeaux to start the season, and here's another result against a team that's been involved in European competition this season that is one of Ligue 1's traditional heavyweights. But Reims keep fighting till the end. I think that they're much better defensively than they were last season, I think, which is making a huge difference. The ability to move Aissa Mande into his natural center back position and play Traoré as a right back. They've still, like I said they've still conceded 30 goals, but if we look at last season's results, their goal per game average is much improved, and I think that that together with these exciting younger attackers, the likes of Ake, the likes of Preville, the likes of Sibacheu, there's a lot more there. I mean, Reims were the worst defense in the league last year. 66 goals conceded in 38 matches. That's almost a 2-goal. That's pushing 2 goals conceded a game, whereas now they're less than 1.5. and they stayed up last year. Now they've got a better attack. They've got an improved defense. I don't really see the case for them going down at this point. They seem like the summer signings they brought in, like a Traore and a Concava, I think were really astute signings, and I just think there's a little bit too much cohesion and intelligence about the way that they play, even if they aren't necessarily banging in the goals every week.
Apologies, Eric. I meant to throw that question to Philip, but it gives him the chance to have the perfect rebuttal to that, because you do like giving Reims a little bit of a tough time, don't you? But so why do you think they will go down, Philip?
Actually, it was a very spirited performance against Saint-Etienne. I agree that, especially given the pitch, it was quite hard to actually make even so much as a pass to a teammate, basically. No, what I believe is that Reims are playing better than last season. You can't deny that. They're defending better. It'll be great. It'll be tight until the last match day, I'm sure, because I do believe that some sides are just going to wake up in March, maybe in April, and that will see them through the finish line. It's more a case of them not having the luck or maybe the fixture pile-up to be above 18th come the final day. I do believe that Toulouse will pick up form and that they will stay up more pretty marginally so, and that leaves Reims. It's more of a elimination process, as in saying I don't think they will go down, so they have to go down. That's basically what I am saying. But there's very little in it. I mean, they do have the good reinforcements from the summer, and it's a better place. You see much less, shall we say, drama from the chairman, whereas last season it was like we're going down. The area has to support the club. Fans need to come to the stadium to support the club, because otherwise it'll be back to Ligue 2. It'll be back to having no money at all. You don't really get that this season. I mean, true, they are 4 months, 3 to 4 months to go, but they do seem a bit more. Less dramatic about the whole place, but I do believe that the other sides have more quality. That's just about it.
Level-headed Ligue 1 owners, so I'll never see the day. I think alarm bells will start ringing for some of them as soon as the bigger sides start pulling away. Just very quickly,
I do expect Reims and Gazélec to stay up, because my predictions about those are usually wrong.
Just very quickly, Eric, do you think the likes of Lille and Gazélec have done enough already?
Yeah, I think particularly Gazélec, you look at the performance in the cup, they've got enough going forward. I think to put it together. They're a frightening place to go to on the road. They've got a solid defense. Lille, I think there's just a little bit too much in their defense. Under Antonetti and even under Renard, the likes of Savelli and Sumaoro and Stapila Sunzu, I think there's just too much in defense for Lille to, as you rightly said earlier, to stay in most matches. And I think that's with Sofiane Boufal, I think that's enough to let them stay above that dotted line, as it were.
It would certainly be interesting with it still being close at this time, but it will be this time of the year where some teams start coming down and some teams start getting away from others, and it will be interesting as we head into that sort of final third of the season. Well, thank you, Eric and Philip, for joining me this evening. Thank you to everyone listening at home. We hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.